Welcome to Curious Joel, a show about curiosity taking us deeper into the topics of people's passion and interesting conversation. I'm your host, Joel Circo. Today we are having an interesting conversation. We are going to be talking about just what women in their 20s kind of, the issues that they kind of deal with in today's day and age. And I have with me my lovely wife, December, and my friend, Kari. Kari would like to say hi.
Hi.
December, would you like to say hi?
Sup.
Okay. What would you say the biggest thing that you deal with as a woman in today's culture? What do you think the biggest problem that you deal with is, December?
Existing.
Okay. What part of existing is the most difficult?
The waking up and getting out of bed part.
Okay.
You probably need to edit this section out.
Nope, that's okay.
Edit it out.
Okay. Alright, I will. So, December, what is the biggest problem that you... What?
I don't have an answer to this question.
Okay.
Do you have other questions?
I
was just going back to that friend's misogyny.
Delete. Start from the beginning.
No, I didn't do that. So, I know that a lot of women today deal with misogyny on different levels, and some people will call it different things. But have either of you dealt with that on a personal level?
I had to grow up with it.
You had to grow up with it?
Yeah.
Okay, what did that look like?
I just got ignored a lot. Got talked over. Or if I had any kind of feelings, I got called emotional or hormonal.
Mm. So it was just kind of like resigned to like, well, you're just kind of wrong or not.
Seen but not heard.
Right. So you kind of got stuck in that like 50s child mentality of like, well, children, they're really good to look at, but they don't have good ideas, they're not worth listening to, and they're wrong. And if you say anything else, you're also wrong.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. And have you seen that anywhere else in your life?
I've had a couple jobs.
Okay. What did that look like for you?
Well, when I've had issues and brought it up to the higher ups, I'm emotional. I need to handle this on my own. You're wasting our time. This isn't a big issue. And if I'm upset, there's a reason. I'm not just emotional.
Right. Now, how have you both experienced, or either of you, I don't know, experienced like the just any time that you're upset or not just happy, it's just been like, well, is it just your time of the month, like type of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What does, for people that aren't women or don't talk a lot with women and actually talk about this specific subject, what...
It doesn't feel pointed at all.
Well, I not trying to like
it's okay,
brag,
I'm
but like
tracking.
I'm one of the people that have talked with lots of women about this and understand, I would say, more than most men. But like, what does that feel like? What does that like? What goes through your head when someone's like, "Is it your time of the month?"
They don't really care.
Yeah,
okay.
They don't really want an answer either. Or
Right.
They want to dive deeper.
They just want to, oh, this is why she's acting this way.
Right.
They don't think that our points are valid or anything like that. It's just, we're just upset because we're hormonal.
Just blame it on like things that they don't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like that. Let's move on, kind of thing.
Yeah. Take the blame off of what it actually should be on.
Do you feel like that's somewhat similar to like people like blaming like your astrological sign for like why something didn't work, almost, of just like, well, Sagittarius. Sagittarius is in retrograde or something like that. It's like, wait, what? No, you did a bad job at this thing, not your sign. And like, I'm upset because something happened, not I'm on my period, you know.
Maybe just a little bit.
Little bit. I'm like I said, I'm not trying to equate that.
Right,
I'm just like something that somebody without that issue could relate to, of like how absurd that like.
I mean, there are mood changes, but that's
Right.
not always the case.
Yeah, like you
Or
can
the
be
cause.
upset
Yeah.
because something happened, and
Right. It can be totally unrelated.
Yeah, and like, again, my wife, there's times where like, I can tell that something, like, her period is coming, because she's a little sharper with certain things. But that's not why she's upset. Like, she's not upset because her, like, it's just heightened a little bit.
Sure.
But that also can be because I did something really stupid. But like, yeah, and it seems really stupid that I'm saying this out loud because I'm trying to help people learn. But like, you can get upset the same as anybody else for normal reasons, and it can be nothing to do with anything your body's doing. But yeah, anything else on that subject specifically? Like anything that comes to mind about like that specific topic of like how people treat the period?
I think people don't know enough about it to understand everything. So there's a lot more than my hormones are messed up, I'm a little grumpy today, that goes into it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's all the care that you have to take up into it, and then some people have worse cycles than others.
Yeah.
Some people have ended up in the hospital because the pain is so bad. There's a lot more to a period besides my hormones are messed up and...
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's... People need to educate themselves on how it works and what's actually going on in a female's body.
Yeah. I completely agree. Something that's always kind of bugged me as I'm watching like boyfriends and friends like interact with their girlfriends or significant others or other females is like when a girl's like, hey, can you go pick up my pad or my tampon or whatever, and they're like, ew, no, I don't want to be. It's like, I always get upset because I'm like, it's just a product. Like, you wouldn't do that if it was like, can you pick up a toothbrush?
Right.
Like, it's a healthcare product. Like, like, I always wonder, like, what's going through a guy's head when they're like, I don't want to touch this. Like, are you worried that the cashiers can be like, you need these? Like, I don't know what your worry is.
Well,
I don't know.
I had one friend that wouldn't even go anywhere near a packaged pad or tampon or anything.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
He freaked out when he got close to it. Then I had another one. It's like, yeah, I'll go get it for you. I don't care. Just tell me what you need.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
if you need something, I mean, I need to know what brand you like and like how
I
heavy
had
of
to
a
send
flow.
you pictures.
Well, yes, I was having really.
Yeah,
I was.
pictures help.
I was having trouble with words just generally. That wasn't. But like,
But a picture will
if
help you.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, this is what I need to get. I can grab it. I will grab a stack of things if I need to. Like, and if there's the ones that you weren't responding for some reason, and so I just grabbed a few of them because I'm like, I know it's this brand, and I don't know. She didn't tell me how heavy her flow is, so like, here's a couple, you know, and like, it's something that, you know, like half of your friends deal with. You should be educated and comfortable dealing with it.
It's a good way to tell their maturity level too.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, like I said, I've had this type of conversation with lots of my friends because like I'm okay talking about it.
Sure.
It's not like this weird like ew what.
Right.
Just like, hey, it's something you deal with on a fairly regular basis.
Can't help it.
Yeah, and it's not like it's not a choice.
Right.
Yeah, it's not something we choose to go through.
Yeah, but yeah, and there's just a lot of things that like guys just don't bother learning, and I mean, good.
I know a couple people who have learned the very, very basic of it's the lining of the uterus falling out, and that's what it is. That's all it is. And so just learning the basics isn't enough. You need to understand exactly what's going on. Why does it happen? How often? What are the signs that it's not regular? Because if you get a girlfriend or a wife or something like that, you can also catch signs that maybe she can't once you've learned more about it.
Right.
So it's not just us complaining, oh, guys need to know more. It's well, you could also help us out, too.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So,
do you mind if I give them something slightly personal?
I guess.
So, right before we started, you were being a little snippy, and you're like, well, I know my period's around the corner. But that's an honest thing, not a, well, it's your period, isn't it? Like, I had forgotten about that, but December's like, yeah, well, I can tell I'm close. But, like, it's just one of those things, like, it's fine if that is a educated guess versus just a wild accusation of, like, you don't like me today. Oh, yeah, it must be because your period, versus, like, oh, you don't like me today because I said you were ugly.
I mean, to be honest, 90% of the time you're going to ask, are you on your period? It's going to make us more angry, and you're probably wrong.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I walked up to a guy and just was like, hold on, my brain stalled. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
ask
what's
a guy what? Ask a guy what?
I don't know. Like, I need some help. What is something that would be as absurd to ask a guy if he's upset because of? I don't know. I can't.
I guess walking up to a guy and saying, oh, are you upset because someone punched you in the balls?
Yeah, no, that's I like that. That's good. Like, it's like, oh, you were just kicked down there, weren't you? That's why you don't like your order of food.
Did someone insult your manhood?
Right, like it's as wild of an accusation, like, of just like, no, I just don't you didn't give me my food. It's like, well, are you sure? Is it okay down there? Like, yeah, you gave me the wrong food. We're like, that's what women get a lot. Is just like, everything's just like, oh, it's that. Like, yeah. But yeah, I mean, yeah, education is important. I know December was very happy when she learned as friends that I was okay and comfortable with talking about it. Like, it means that that's not like once a month there's things that she's just frustrated about and can't tell anybody. Like, she knew that time of the month she could be like, hey, Joel, I need pads and I need tampons and this is what to get me. And
chocolate.
Sometimes the stereotype holds a little bit. But I mean, that's not true for everybody.
Right.
And, like, that's important to also know is, like, periods affect people differently.
Yep.
And so, like, if I just started throwing chocolate at a woman because, like, maybe I just know enough, like, I know it's her period.
Have to appease the woman.
Well, if I just start throwing chocolate at them, like, what are you doing? It's like, chocolate because you're on your period. That could be also insulting.
Yes.
If I'm just like, well, okay. So it's like learning what each individual person goes through.
Right.
And, like,
Right.
December, your period's different from Kari's period, and Kari's period's different from the next person, like, and on. So, like, learning the specific person, because you can't make a general assumption about periods either, right?
Yeah. Just knowing Kari as long as I have, ours are very different from each other. They last a different amount of time, and they're just completely different.
Yeah. And, like, you have different symptoms than she does, where you have more of that, like, short, sharper, it's not even a temper, but, like, I don't know how to put it.
I handle less nonsense.
Yes. Yeah. And have a sharper response to that type of
It's not like anything's wrong with that.
Yeah.
Well, more so than normal.
Yes.
Yeah, and smaller things can upset her a little bit more.
I know that if I try to skip a meal or something, my cramps get worse. Whereas other people definitely don't eat as much on their period.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Or some binge eat.
Some binge eat, yeah.
Well, I don't know that Kari doesn't have as much of that side of, like, the no-nonsense side as much.
I
like,
shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kari goes into, like, a low-power mode during that. And, like, yeah. So, like, it's different in, like, learning that about each person.
Works from home.
Works from home. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's exhausting, man.
Well,
yeah.
we were actually, funny enough, audience, a couple days ago, we were sitting here at our house and just looking at, like, the period, the experience that you can make someone else feel what a period feels like.
Like birth simulator stuff.
Yeah,
where
the
you
period
put it,
simulator. That's
yeah,
what it was.
Yeah.
You put it on a guy and you see how they react, and then you put it on a girl and you see how they react with, like,
Yeah.
the electro.
It's not, like, 1-to-1 kind of.
Yeah, the electro.
It's close.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like electromagnetic something or other.
It
Yeah.
makes the muscles contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
similar, but it's not quite the same.
Right.
And like, when they were talking about it, I was like, I would actually really enjoy that. Like, because I'm empathetic. And I would like to know, like, what is my wife feeling? What is my friend feeling? Like, what does this actually feel like? Because I can try and imagine all I want, but until I actually feel it, like, I'm like, I can sympathize with. I know that I can tell by your actions you hurt, but I can't fully understand. And like, when we're looking at, like, I would love to try that. I would love to try that and know what it's like. And when December gets pregnant. I also want to try that too. I want to feel what that feels like as much as I can stand, because, like,
You will.
but like, I'm the type of person, I want to know. I want to understand. I mean, again, podcast all about trying to know, but like, I do try and understand each person and what they deal with. And audience, that's what you should be doing. Don't be creepy about it, but like, be willing to listen and ask delicate questions, but personal questions, like trying to figure out, like, what do they need. And that's something that I often ask my female friends is like, can I get you anything? Is there anything I can do? Because sometimes it's not something you can get, but maybe it's like, hey, can you just sit with me for a while?
Yeah.
You know?
And usually if you're asking a question to understand, people aren't usually going to get as upset.
Right.
If you word it incorrectly and it comes out not great, it's okay.
Yeah, it comes off differently.
Right.
Yeah.
You just have to preface with it of, I want to understand.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry if it's wrong, it coming out wrong, but blah, blah, blah.
My version of that is, sorry if this sounds weird, but that's my version for my friends, because they understand that I ask weird questions sometimes, and they know that that's my preface to, like, this isn't trying to be weird, but but find your way to do that. And, like, again, they want people that are willing to talk about that, because I mean, even sometimes the other females in their lives weren't ready to talk about it, or don't want to talk about it openly. And, like, I think that's a stigma that is detrimental to society. Just the ignorance and unwillingness to talk about it.
Well, I've changed doctors a bunch of times because the receptionists don't take me seriously. They've been all been females.
That's
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, that's absurd that, like, even the other females don't want to take you seriously.
One of them thought I was just shopping for pills.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's not fun.
Yeah.
Have you had experiences somewhere of, like, in the professional area of, like, I guess either guys or girls, men or women? There we go. Men or women. Sorry, my brain is, like, all over the place. But, like, having them have, like, question your... My gosh, my brain's losing words fast.
Well, I mean, so in, like, high school and stuff, if you called out for the specific topic, they would just kind of roll their eyes and be like, sure, okay. You know, so there was a lot of girls I know that were just coming in because they didn't want to get an absent on their thing, whereas they were dying and wasn't learning anything. They just should have been home in bed for one day or two.
Right.
But, you know, you do that every single month and people are like, you skip school a lot. It's like, well, I'm dying a lot.
Repeatedly.
Yeah. And then kind of switching into like misogynistic type of things is men seem to think you're exaggerating a whole bunch. And, you know, there's been a few times where they just don't want to hear it. And so it's not necessarily that I've gone to professional like doctors or anything, but in other forms of like work or school where they've just kind of rolled their eyes and been like, sure, you know, because it's not like they can prove me wrong.
Yeah, you know, that'd be a fun one. I'm trying to deny that and be like, no, it's not your opinion. It's like, yeah, prove it.
Yeah.
So, Kari, going back to you and your story, like how what was that? What did that feel like to have a female medical professional kind of look at you and go like, psh, probably not.
It's hurtful and infuriating.
Yeah.
She should understand.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. As a medical professional, they
Period.
should understand.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, as a medical professional, they should
You're real proud of that
understand.
one.
Yeah, he is.
Sorry,
Yeah.
that was accidental.
I was trying to
that
push
was
past
accidental, and then my brain caught it. That's when my laugh happened. It was like, oops.
it. You're not punny.
But I was serious about what I was saying. I'm like,
Right.
as a medical professional, period, no matter who you are or what you are, like,
No matter your gender.
yeah,
You should understand, like, this is gonna be sucky for some people.
Yeah.
Really sucky for some people.
Yeah. And I mean, this is, again, one of those things that I'm thinking about, like, this is ridiculous, because, like, this reminds me of, like, all those, like, kids movies where the kid goes, like, hey, there's bad guys breaking in, or, hey, you know, whatever happened, and the parents like, sure, it's your overactive imagination. You're just lying. And it's like, that level of disbelief in a female saying, like, hey, this is what I'm going through. I'm like, it's your overactive imagination. So adorable. Anyway, move along. Like, that's absurd that, like, I can even equate it to that, of, like, that level of just dismissal. Like, and that's one thing I always hated about Home Alone is, like, he's trying to sit there going, like, hey, this is happening. And everyone's like, sure, kid. And, like, I'm sure that's somewhat how you feel when a female doctor or professional looks at you and goes, like, yeah, you just want pills. Like, you know.
Pretty much.
Man, that sucks. And especially since, like, without them, you can't move further with
Right, I can't
any
do
help.
anything with it.
Right. You know, it's like, okay, great, I got stonewalled.
Yeah.
Of getting help with a...
You're back to square one of trying to look for doctors that your insurance covers, finding in your area even, because at some point you're going to run out in your area and you're going to have to travel 2-3 hours away to find a doctor to listen to you.
That's absolutely unfair. Like, it irks me for just even the professional side of that, of, like, and I'm going to try and keep this to a minimum, because, like, I've also experienced where, like, doctors or something just don't listen. And
Right.
this is about, like, an ankle. Like, that I should not have been walking on. They're like, no, I don't think you're right about this. And it's like, it just, when your doctor tells you, no, you're wrong, it's infuriating. It's like, I'm in my body. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right.
And I can't imagine, like, talking to another female and going, like, hey, this is what I'm going through.
Right.
You get it, right? Like, no.
Well, I mean,
You're wrong.
One thing to remember is that the medical field has been taught, this is how it normally goes. Blah, blah, blah. And my grandfather had a doctor have to apologize to him because he looks at my grandfather and said, there's no way you're still alive 30 years with Parkinson's. And then the doctor had to come in the next day and apologize and said, I'm sorry, Mr. Mills. You have had it for 30 years. And so, yes, there's a normal, but then there are those few that are not normal.
Right.
So, average, but not everyone is the same. Not everyone is going to have the same effects. And that's why not everyone can have penicillin. People are allergic to penicillin.
Right.
And everyone is different. And so you can't just say, no, that's not how that works. When we don't think that's how that works.
Yeah.
It's not an absolute. And so it's hard from our end as non-professionals to be like, but something's wrong.
Right.
Help me figure out what's wrong.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you're exaggerating.
Well, I guess my thing would be like, if the female period is so different from person to person, like, I feel like they should be ready for those outliers, which would be, I would guess, more outliers than not outliers, because, like, you should know this stuff. This should be your area of expertise of, like, hey, one thing I know about periods is they're not all the same. Mm-hmm. Like, that is irking me right now.
Yeah.
Like,
no, that's fair. It doesn't make any sense.
Stupid.
Yeah. I mean, I hope that we're getting more into, like, the mindset of women can do just the same things. Women have the same things as men in certain aspects. And yes, they're different in some ways, but they're not going to lie to you. They're not just hormonal. They're not hysteric.
Gosh.
As they used to say.
Female hysteria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with ignorance. The way society's going, I'm hoping that this starts to happen less and less, because
right.
Guys get more understanding. More people are listening to what we have to say, where they're listening to our stories, our side.
Yeah.
And so in all of society, not just the period aspect, but in all of it, we're seeing more women get more jobs, more equal pay and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are still people out there that don't believe that that's a thing. Mm-hmm. We have some people we've known personally that just don't believe. Oh, you're a woman. You're treated exactly the same. But don't talk to me about that stuff. That's, don't talk to me about periods. Don't.
Gross. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Or, thank you for your opinion.
Mansplain it to you.
Yeah, let me mansplain it. He might as well just come out and say, let me mansplain it to you.
This is what you're feeling.
Yeah.
That must suck.
And it's hard to navigate. I mean, it's hard to navigate that, because when you're talking to a person, you want to educate them and let them understand that, the feminists aren't evil people. They're just trying to make everyone understand, hey, we have a voice too. We need, and we work just as hard, if not harder, at certain jobs to prove that we can do it just like you guys can. And when you have someone sitting there going, but do you really work as hard as me? It's really hard to keep it nice, and yes, we work harder than you. And without blowing up. Because when someone sits there and tells you you're a liar, you get a little mad.
Well, it's also demeaning. Like, that level of, like, talk down to of, like, well, I don't know about it. It's like, what do you mean? Like, and like, and it's one of those things, like, if you flip the table, sure, flip the table. But like,
sometimes it's necessary to flip tables.
But like, if someone were to walk up to a guy and be like, "You're not working that hard, are you? Like, you got a cushy job." Like, and they're sitting there going, "Like, I'm sorry." Like, they get mad too. Like, it's that's something that I think that a lot of people don't understand. Is like, yeah, you got mad. If anyone were to come up to you and say you suck at your job, basically. And like, well, that's why we're not going to pay you, is you suck at your job. It's like, well, what proof? Well, it's your eyes. Like, your eyes, you got blue eyes, you can't do a job as well as brown-eyed people. Yeah. It's like, what? No, you'd get upset. You'd get very upset.
Yeah. Well, I had that one friend come up to me while I was working with him once. He said, "You're working pretty slow. Are you on your monthly?" I'm like, "Yes. And I'm also dizzy." And he shut up real fast.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, it's like, don't ask the question if you don't want to know.
Right. Right.
And she says she's dizzy. Don't you think you should look at her and be like, oh my gosh, are you sure you should be working? Do you need to go sit down? Do you need water? How can I make you feel better right now? Instead of just walking away because you're uncomfortable uncomfortable with the conversation. Well, we're not comfortable at all right now. So why wouldn't you? I mean, ask if we're actually okay. If we literally just told you, as someone who's apparently above us, if you literally just asked and we said, I'm dizzy, anyone else, you would say, oh, go sit down for 10 minutes. Make sure you feel better.
Yeah.
You know? And if you went to anyone else, they would have been like, oh my gosh, go sit down. What are you doing? We'll work a little harder so you don't have to be here. Yeah. Because nobody wants to work when they're dizzy or nauseous or, you know, sick.
It's also really dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just
pass
saying
out on the job. You know, it's fine.
Yeah. Hit your
That'll show him.
Yeah, that'll show him.
It's like, works a little harder, passes out.
Did you work so hard you passed out? No, I'm working harder.
Just watch them like deer in the headlights. I don't know what to do. Are they dead?
Yeah, it's they'll come to us for advice. They'll ask us questions. Oh, how do you think I can handle this situation with this girl I like? Well, I don't like that. You didn't even hear what I said. You cut me off. Well, you can't cut somebody off and say that they're wrong. You can't come to somebody and ask for their advice. You go to your girlfriend to ask, girl, you know, how do I get this girl to like me? You can't just cut them off because they're not in the same boat as you. You're asking them for advice because you don't know. You can't say, oh, well, that's not how I think women work.
Right. Well,
that's not how any of that works.
Grow up around them or have any clue.
Yeah. If you don't have a clue, open your mind to people's suggestions. And so when someone tells you something of like, hey, not all girls like chocolate.
Right.
Well, I think most girls do. So I'm going to get her chocolate. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sorry, really quick, I want to go back because that was really clever. December, they're uncomfortable with talking about the situation, but we're just uncomfortable. That was really good, and I wanted to make sure that got pointed out because that was like, yeah, you're a little socially uncomfortable with this situation. Great, they're physically uncomfortable with their body right now. Yeah, you know, like, but yeah, I mean, like. You don't go up to anybody else. You don't go up to your, tax person and be like, so this is the deduction I think I should be getting. Well, actually, according to... Well, no, I think this is what I'm getting. So can you just shut up and agree with me?
Could that work, please? I think I'm getting $1 million this year. No. I don't care what the IRS says. I think... I'm getting $1 million, so make that happen, buddy.
They would probably just look at you, tell you to embezzle on your own.
I'm not that smart. I need help. Which means I can
maybe
admit I need
refer
help.
you to somebody.
All right, enough embezzling for today. But, like, you don't go up to other people, like, you don't go up to your counsel, you don't go up to, like, your pastor or, your mentor or something like that and go, like, hey, I need some help. By the way, I already figured it out, but I just needed to ask you for validation on what I already figured out.
That's the word you were looking for, was validation.
Yeah.
I don't want your actual opinion. I want your validated.
Stamp this, stamp of approval.
Validate
approves
me.
this message.
Yeah.
Like, that's all, that's, like, I feel like some people are just looking for that, like, well, I did talk to a lady about this, and they tried to say something, but and then I got them to agree with me. It's like...
Yeah,
wait,
to
what?
shut you up and get away from you.
Right, exactly. It's like, and they take that as like, well, I was right. I know what women's favorite things are now because I told them what I said, and they told them that they better agree.
Yeah. I mean, just because the movies say roses and chocolate, if you ever walked in with a rose, I'd tell you to leave. I don't like roses.
You have turned down a rose for me.
I have turned
at least
down.
on occasion.
Yes.
It makes it really hard to shop for it because I'm like, I love roses. I absolutely love roses, and like I dreamed as like from like 6 or 7 years old, like can't wait to like surprise my wife. But like I think I saw it in like a Dick Van Dyke episode where he came home with like a dozen roses and some chocolate, and I think it was like her favorite takeout food or something, and I was like, my gosh, it's amazing. And then once I got to start knowing my future wife at that time, I realized she really doesn't like roses.
Nope.
And I'm like, well, there's not many other flowers that you can buy easily that are dozen anything else's. So I'm like sitting there going like, okay, like scratch my head, like, okay, what flowers does she like
daffodils?
more?
We get daffodils in the front yard.
Ooh, yeah, daffodils.
There you go.
I mean, lilies.
If I did that thing to you, it
Go
would
to
be
the
like
side of road, pick
great.
wildflowers.
I have done that. I made
you
you a micro bouquet.
Yes, you did, babe.
I love that. Was tedious but fun.
Now you're gonna have to post a picture of it.
Do you have a picture?
Yeah, I've sent you pictures.
I don't remember.
Anyway,
I'll post
now
a picture
we're
of that.
off track.
Sorry, but like, you know, if I did that,
Yeah, like I personally hate roses. That means that I hate roses, but it could be Carrie's favorite flower. I don't know if it is or not, but it could be. But that's where I'm saying is like you need to learn the person you're trying to get to know, and not just assume every single person is the same.
Hey, stereotypes are real, right?
Well, yeah, that's why they don't sell like make your girlfriend happy kits. Is because if you did that, it would like there'd be a decent chunk of people that would be like, "I'm sorry, you got me what?" It's like, I got
Was this for me or for you?
chocolate.
Yeah.
And if I just did that, does someone be like, why is this not dark chocolate?
Yes.
She'd also throw away the roses, and you know the bling teddy bear she'd probably throw away too.
Yeah.
I'd have to get her like lilies and some dark chocolate and like
a
hedgehog.
puppy. Or a hedgehog, that works.
A stuffed hedgehog, because we can't have pets.
Yeah, it's fine.
But like, you know, learning what each person, each woman individually likes and
Their
not,
wants and needs.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, same as any of your other guy friends that you're like, well,
Not
this guy
all
likes
guys.
Pokemon,
Yeah.
he likes Digimon, you know.
well, not
whatever.
all guys
Another
like
mark of
beef
maturity,
jerky.
too.
Yeah. Beef
Yeah,
jerky,
yeah.
steak.
And it definitely, understanding that definitely does show a sign of maturity.
Because
And
they actually want to get to know you.
Right.
I feel really bad for having to say this in this episode, but I heard what December said. I did not hear what you said.
Oh.
Can you repeat it, please?
It's another mark of maturity.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's why I've had these conversations with so many women, is because I just talk to them.
Yeah.
Just generally speaking, and then when the topic comes up, I don't go, ew.
Right.
So you make us all feel heard. You make us feel like we're not crazy. We're not
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have you gone to work or something and someone has told you, I don't care. I don't need your opinion. You know, as the younger generation, I've gotten it at work of just ageist and stuff like that. So being validated that I do have a smart idea.
Right.
I am correct. Someone does want to get to know me. I'm not this horrible monster I've been made out to be.
Right.
You know, it feels really good to know that someone does care.
Yeah.
You know, and so...
Right, it's more genuine, too.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, in work, you get that point where someone doesn't want to listen to your opinion, or you have to prove yourself because you're part of the younger generation.
Right.
That's not fair. No. I got hired.
Right.
Why do I have to prove myself? You already hired me. Now just listen to me. Yeah. I went to school. I got my degree.
Hey, really fun statistic right here.
Oh, no.
Two of the three of us have degrees. and it's not me.
Yes, the man does not have a degree.
Nope.
I mean, you have a high school diploma, but nothing past
That's
that.
important.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't go to college.
Yes, you need high school at least.
The other two here December, you have... Okay, I'm not even going to try because I always mess up degrees terribly. So, December, what do you have?
I have a bachelor's in fine art photography, and then I have a minor in business.
Kari?
Bachelor's of Science in Accounting.
Yep.
She's the smart one.
Sometimes I wonder.
Well, I was going to say, on paper...
Well, you're not embezzling, so...
Can we not embezzle and talk about embezzling? Because I think people are going to get suspicious. And if I get messaged by the IRS, it's like, hey, we would just like to talk to you about your friends. But
no one is embezzling. It was a joke, guys.
You're going to pay taxes on that, aren't you?
I don't care. You're going to help me with that one. But, like if you were to look at a resume, the two women I'm talking with are way smarter than I am. Now, I'm not saying I'm stupid in comparison. I just have a different set of skills. But, if you were to look at, who's
college
more
would not
educated...
have been good for you.
Yeah, oh my gosh, college would have been the worst.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
I also didn't need it for what I'm doing. But, it's one of those things, I'm not also intimidated because you have degrees either. But
I do plenty of stupid stuff.
But you also aren't smart because of your degrees.
Right.
Like for me, you're not. I don't go December's photography. Well, she's smarter than I am. Hey, I've known December for long enough, and I know she's really smart. Which is one of the reasons I married her. And, I know Kari's really brilliant, which is why I'm friends with her. It's not because they have the degree. It's, I know you're smart. You have a degree to back it up. But, you have brilliant ideas. I love listening to people that are smart enough to have intelligent conversations for long periods of time and not be bored of whatever the conversation is, But, Sorry, I just realized, I'm the only one in this conversation that does not have a degree.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay, the curiosity makes up for it.
Well, the curiosity is how I got my level 2 certification for ropes course.
You trying to brag now?
No!
Trying to get on our level?
No.
He's got a fancy piece of paper. We're all the same.
Okay.
I don't have a fancy piece of paper. You guys have fancy pieces of paper. I've got regular printer paper that I printed out my digital,
Nobody needs to know that.
Shh. No,
I need people to know that.
You just outed yourself. You could have been quiet.
No, I can't. My audience
It's
doesn't...
Honesty,
fancy 'cause of
guys.
what's on it.
Huh?
It's fancy because of what's on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the
Sure.
words that are on
I
it,
do
not the
also have
paper
a
it's
fancy
on.
piece
It
of
was
paper.
also
yes.
expensive.
Yeah.
It was expensive and a lot of hard work, but
There you go.
but
It's the
yeah.
same.
We
Sorry,
just have to
my brain
validate
just,
Joel right now.
Well, my brain just went through if we swapped the work we had to do to get our fancy pieces of paper, I don't think any of us would have survived. Because neither of you could have done the climbing and ropes that I did for that, straight,
No, I'm pathetic.
10 hours. But I could not have gotten the photography degree over how many years of college?
Well, I did 2 years. I did extra, so it was 6 years.
Yeah, nope, couldn't have done that.
Yeah.
And I 190,000%. That is for emphasis of how badly I do at the finances. I would have died at the first class of math.
Yes, math is difficult. And for that business minor, I also had to do accounting.
Yeah.
And without my teacher, we all would have failed. And that teacher was amazing. And I loved him. Get a good accounting teacher, guys.
Oh, was that in CBU?
Yeah.
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 I think I heard about the professor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
he would stay extra after classes. He worked really hard with us. He had extra classes for us to come into. He did everything in his power to make sure we all got A's,
Was he
not
the
just
older guy?
passed. Yeah, he was older.
Yeah. I
Yep.
can't remember his name.
Can't remember his
I
name,
wish I
but he
could've
was the
taken
world's
classes
best accounting teacher you could have ever had. And he worked with you not only to just pass, but to get an A. He wanted you to be so good.
Yeah.
And, the love and care he had for us, he reflected in his work, and it was amazing. Sorry, just had to I just had to shoo him up,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
I am always down for good praise of a teacher that did a good job. You know, we need more of those people out there that actually care about teaching. You know,
Yeah.
heard a lot of stories of people that don't care, and so I love hearing about good teachers. Sorry, just my brain
New
just.
thought.
Yep.
Okay.
Carrie, do you mind if I explain why this episode is late?
Okay.
So, originally we were going to do this episode last week sometime, but due to Carrie's period and how it works, she could
I couldn't move.
Yeah, she could make it through her work, or some of her work, and then she was done.
Pretty much.
I felt really bad because I'm like, I really do want to talk to her about this for this specific reason, but the reason also was getting in the way of it. But I kept like trying to be very gentle about like, I know it's been really hard, but what about today?
Yeah.
Which like, you know, she was very gracious about like, no, I don't think I can. I understand that you're not trying to push me into like just forcing me to do this.
Right.
But like, you know, but that's why it's a little late is. Sorry.
I missed that one. What was that fun?
Periods and being late.
Oh.
Anyway.
Your period was late, babe.
But the podcast was a little late because Carrie's period just didn't allow her to record, and I wanted to do.
It didn't allow her to function.
Yes. Sorry, my brain is half on the professional side of this and half on the personal side of this.
Oh, okay.
But but Carrie could not function past a certain point in time, and that was what she was trying to focus on work and get through as much work as she could, and that just killed her. And so like we had to wait until she actually had energy to actually do this. And right now she's still not quite fully recovered, but she's doing awesome. But yeah.
She didn't recover from anything. It's not a sickness.
No. God.
You made it seem like it's a
Sorry.
choice.
So
of
it definitely
sickness.
takes me a few days though.
Yeah.
But
Bounce back.
I was like, how would you
Yeah.
fix my phrasing then? Sorry. That wasn't...
I don't know, in my mind.
To not be dead.
Okay, so...
Yes.
What I said was okay, but for other people out there, bouncing back, or how would you put that? December.
I mean... I don't know.
Okay. Because, like, you can recover, like, I know guys that have to recover from going to the gym, you know. It's not always sickness, but, you know.
No, I mean, for me personally, I don't necessarily need a quote-unquote recovery time.
Right.
But others do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to be...
Well, yeah. But
I
another
appreciate
thing on
being
this
called on
topic is that the mood swings, the hormones start changing days before I actually start my period.
Right.
So that at the end of mine, I'm done. Like,
So
I'm
you get,
fully
like-
recovered. Whereas, like, Carrie's is after. She has a
Before,
longer...
during, and after.
Yeah, she gets a longer
Yeah.
affection with the hormones and all of the stuff that are
Right.
affecting the body. Whereas mine is
So you
not
like
as.
you get like pre-game period.
Yeah, I pregame the period. worst pregame ever.
Worst game ever too at that.
Oh, yeah.
I'll trade you. I get like one good week.
No thanks. I will stay content on my side.
Yeah.
The grass is greener on my side.
Fair enough.
So what other things like have you dealt with? I mean, December did touch a little bit on like the age also adding to like being a female.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can we go into more of that side of things? Like, have you experienced things that are just like, well, you're too young at, you know, mid-20s. I'm going to stick with that.
I don't know. I have a fantastic boss.
Okay.
You do, yeah.
What about before your current job?
Not for that one specifically. Like, too young.
Mm.
I don't
Have
know.
you had other things? Like, similar?
Well, there was the hormonal thing growing
Right.
up, but
Right.
I don't know about too young.
Okay. December, you touched on that briefly.
Yeah, I've had a couple of things where my opinions, my voice was in one ear and out the other, just because I was a young female.
Right.
I worked in a male-driven job, and, you know, I had, like, 2 people above me, and one of them was really great and cared about me a lot, and the other one was kind of, like, iffy. And so he would have lots of comments and lots of not really caring about other people's feelings, you know?
Right.
Take it like a man mentality. Whereas, yes, I may show my emotions more than others, but that doesn't mean that your words didn't hurt that man you just said to.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Commenting about someone's weight can affect them as a man or a woman.
Right.
So it doesn't matter who said it and how they take it.
Right.
You shouldn't say that to anyone.
Right.
So.
Well, and that goes into the other thing I was trying to remember earlier, and I derailed myself completely. But something that I've noticed is that most women that I know have some sort of lingering issues, whether it's body issues or personality issues of, like, you know, for December, I know that weight was a big thing. I mean, like, you've dealt with that for a long time, of just, like, people be very insensitive about it. And, you know, I'm trying to, do you mind if I share where that started?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, that started with her family. Like, just her family was the first people to really kind of do that, and it's something that lasts, like, to this day, you know.
Right. And it's not necessarily coming from a place of hate.
Right.
In my family, we're all bigger people,
Right.
and so what they were trying to do was prevent me from turning into them.
Right.
And so it was coming from a place of love, but it
Not
wasn't.
well.
Yeah, it wasn't coming across well. And as a young child, you know, you just get in your mind of you're fat, you're fat, you're fat, where what they're trying to say is you're going to be fat if you
Right.
keep X, Y, and Z up.
Yeah, but
You know.
the way I feel like a lot of people talk to females about these types of things is a very hurtful
Very hurtful.
and
Yeah.
not very constructive way. And I feel really bad because I know we've talked about what you deal with, Kari, but I cannot remember what it is right now. And I feel really bad.
It's okay. Apparently I'm not tracking anymore.
Oh gosh. But, like, I mean, I've talked with lots of women. A lot of women have, like, they either think they're too big or too small in various areas, or too tall or too short, or, you know,
Right.
like, a lot of them, it's a physical thing of, like,
Gotcha.
well, you know.
Well, that goes back to, I mean, the supermodels have to be size -1 in order to be considered pretty.
Right.
Where in reality that's just giving all of us girls, you know, reasons to have eating disorders and to just not be okay, because they're photoshopping these girls that are size 2 into, like, -1.
Right.
And it's, the supermodels don't even look like that. We're photoshopping them into something that's unrealistic and unattainable. And so it's causing many and many, 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 many generations of just heartache and feeling like we're garbage.
Right. Right. And, like, and that's something that I've hated for a very long time, is just, like, how media and everything just, like, make most women feel just inferior in so many different ways.
Right.
Because, oh, you have to wear glasses, you're ugly. You know,
Yeah.
your hair's not perfect, the perfect design. Nope, that's the wrong one. I'll get to it in a minute. But, like, perfectly between straight and curly, and if it's not perfectly in, like, that wavy kind of thing, well, it's not exactly wavy, because if your hair's just wavy, it can also be the wrong kind of hair.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
You know,
Sure.
and, like, okay, you're
Yeah. I mean, I don't want people to think that, like, I'm for, like, yeah, everybody be whatever you want to be. I'm saying we need to push it more along that. Yes. We can't push like, oh, if you're really fat, you're really just ugly. That's not the case. It's more of a concern of, are you healthy?
Right.
And that's where we need to be pushing is you need to worry about someone's health. Are you sure you're healthy the way you've been eating? Are you sure you're healthy with the activity of your life? You know? Yeah. And just because someone's a teeny tiny skinny person does not mean they're healthy.
Right.
Because if they're binging and purging or something like that, maybe we should cut that one out. Sorry. If someone is doing an eating disorder, it's not healthy. Right. Even though they're skinny, teeny, tiny person, that doesn't mean they're healthy.
Well, I was listening to, it was two retired models, I think it was, that one of them was talking to the person that had worked for Victoria's Secret and then moved over to Sports Illustrated. And they're saying, I moved over because Victoria's Secret had these just insane things that you had to be to make it. Sports Illustrated was a little bit better as far as like, you know, their body standards. And they were talking about this, like, I guess I didn't know this, and I might be wrong about this. This is just what I heard from them, is like that Victoria's Secret had this phase, and a few other industries had this phase where it's like you had to have these like rock hard abs and a big butt. And apparently it was very unhealthy to try and get that specific like set of things. And it was just really just terrible. And like I'm like, that I did not know that was unhealthy. And that's kind of terrifying because I've seen a lot of those billboards and like those ads on TV and everything where it's like that was like quote unquote the perfect girl was these rock hard abs and big butt. Like that was just what you were trying to do. And it's like, I didn't realize that was so unhealthy. Like, I don't like that personally. But like the fact that was what they're pushing is like, well, you can be unhealthy and everyone's trying to get fit to get this body. And then like, oh, I can't get this body by being healthy. You know, and that's absurd to me that the ideal body type is so
starve yourself.
So unobtainable, because you can't just starve yourself because then you lose one aspect of it. But if you're and like perfectly healthy looks different than everything else.
Right. No, you're right.
Yeah, but it's just everywhere. It's like, okay, this is what women should look like, and it's like, no, nope, you're wrong. You're causing issues, and that's why I've been very, very glad to see like mannequins in real shapes and sizes. You know, I've been starting to see it in different stores where it's like, wow, I actually know somebody that looks like that. Where in years past, it's like I go through all these like mannequins and like the guys and the girls are similarly like. I'm sorry, I've never met somebody that could put that outfit on right now and be remotely comfortable. Like, not at all. But recently I've actually been seeing stuff like, December could walk up and put that on. I could walk up and put that on. Like, you know, real people could fit those clothes that are being advertised. And it brings joy to my heart because I know so many people that have these body issues and, you know, it's just crazy.
Yeah, and we shouldn't be pushing about what you look. It's just, are you healthy? Yeah. You know? And that doesn't just go for physically, but also mentally.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because I know that there's a lot of girls out there that are told a lot of negative things. We're all called whores. We're all called terrible names. And not necessarily just by men, but by other women, just to make ourselves feel better about ourselves.
Right.
And so that puts an emotional scar on you forever.
Right.
You know, and going back like that, it's, as people look back on their life in high school, middle school, it's things that you say that you never want to say again. Like, I can't believe I said that to someone.
Right.
You know, I was just angry and in the moment. And we just got to remember that these things that are said by parents or other people also leave lasting scars. Well, you know?
I mean, I know that one of the things that I have to reassure you about a lot is just the stupid and crazy. Like, that's something that has had a lasting impact on you, December, is just like, there's times where we will have arguments and you'll go into that automatically. You think that I think you're stupid, and it's like I know otherwise, but it's so ingrained in you that whoever has had that effect on you, it lasts. It stays. It's imprinted, and so it's something that automatically goes to, well, obviously you think I'm stupid because everyone else does, and it's like, and that pains me so much when I see those marks, because like it happens more to women than men,
right.
as at least from what I've seen.
Yeah,
it's like most of the women I know have something, whether it's that verbal trigger of like your brain's not right, or the physical.
Well, I know Kari bottles things up a little bit more, doesn't let her feelings out as much.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry to put you on blast, but I know that she takes a long time before she brings issues up in living situations or stuff. Well, it's a learned behavior, exactly.
That goes back to the, hormonal, like, every
Yeah,
time you had an emotion, it was,
brought something up.
And I had to manage theirs for them, so...
Yeah,
right.
You're handling your family's emotions, and you weren't allowed to have your own, because, teenagers or whatever, like...
Yeah.
If you don't want responsibility of kids, don't have them.
Yeah.
If you still want to live like a child yourself, don't have a child.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. But
protection, people.
But, like, that last thing Scott was like, that's something you still deal with, Kari.
Yeah.
And that's what I was like, I know it's something, and it's stupid because you actually brought it up. Yeah. Stupid for me because you just brought it up.
Yeah.
Let me clarify that right now.
Yeah.
Don't need comments like, did you just call her stupid? No, I'm calling myself stupid. But like you have that, like, your emotions were bad. You're too emotional. General, and it's like your emotions are bad, and that's something to this day you still have
a little bit
problems, like actually like this is how I feel.
Expressing yourselves to people that are not friends.
Yeah, and like you feel like sometimes your opinions aren't as important, and that's something that for me as her friend, I try to make sure, like, are you sure? Is that actually what you want? And like even when I was asking about the podcast, I was trying to be very careful about how I phrase it, so I'm not trying to do what she's already experienced. Right. Of like, well, you have to. You don't get a choice.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, even when we pick out dinner, we make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Right.
We're all good about it, and then there are times where we'll look at Kari and she's like, I don't know. And we all have that mode, but it seems like because of how you were brought up and how things started, you have that lasting effect of, I don't know, I'm not too particular tonight. Yeah. Where there are some times where it's felt like, I feel like you do have something you want to eat.
Or at least something you don't want to eat. Which, by the way, audience, that happens with all of us equally. It's not the women that have trouble picking what to eat. It's all of us. Just want to clarify that, because it's not the stereotype.
Yeah, let's be honest. You never know where you want to eat.
Nope. But
I usually know where I want to eat, and you don't.
Yes. But we've all had those moments where, like, I have no clue. And we sit there going, like, scrolling through, like, Google, like, what's close by? No.
That's an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
Do I want sushi? Yes. Can we afford sushi? No.
AKA new podcast idea. Make sushi cheaper.
Yeah, but like...
Listen to us try cheap sushi.
Oh gosh, no.
No, we're not doing that. Sorry.
I like having the contents of my stomach processed normally.
And I'm sure nobody wants to hear that.
That's why I stopped there.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah.
They can either choose to use their imaginations or not. But I will leave it there.
Everyone knows.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, disclaimer. I'm sure everyone knows the stereotype of gas station sushi.
Yeah.
It's real, don't try.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, but like I said, we try and go out of our way to make sure that Kari is heard and felt heard, because there's sometimes, she doesn't have an opinion. She can be very unopinionated at a lot of times, but when she does have an opinion, we want to make sure that she has a recognition. with December, we try and make sure that she's heard and understood, and that, like,
Right.
if her idea was dismissed, it wasn't for no reason. It was, well, here's the problem with that.
Right.
Not just like, that was cute. Anyway, back to real idea. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, and like, that's something else that as a male trying to be, like, learn and grow, talking to your female friends and asking,
Yeah.
like, how can I help with this?
Yeah.
And taking the time to learn, like, what are the scars that they have, and how do I continue to support them
Yeah.
and kind of heal those scars if possible.
Well, one more scar that I know, and I've seen it in many generations and in many females, we're all told to grow up a whole lot faster than guys are.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you look at some of the outfits that the young girls are wearing, and you're like, that's something as an adult I would wear. But as a child, I shouldn't have been put in anything like that.
Right.
Because I'm a child. Let us be children. Let
Right.
them be children. Because the faster they grow up, it's just harder.
Yeah.
You know? And I know that I can remember things, you know, I've wanted to know things, so tell me these things, but I don't want to grow up faster than my brother.
Right.
You know, like than the males in my class.
Right.
And I just see it amongst a lot of things. Kids with a couple different children, or kids with the oldest is a daughter. She's helping out with the younger ones. Don't make her help out. Just
Right.
let her be a kid.
Well,
I feel like a mom.
Yeah. You know, and that's not fair.
yeah. Well, and I think one
If
of
you're under the age of 18, you shouldn't feel like a mom.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think part of the problem with that is that, scientifically speaking, biologically speaking, women mature faster. But, what?
yes, but
Okay.
just because we mature faster does not mean
Sorry, yeah.
we don't want to still go play with Barbies.
Yes.
You know? Just because I'm 10 years old and I can use the stove does not mean I need to be making dinner for the whole
Right.
family.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's
You know?
that's what I was getting at. Sorry, you gave me a really dirty look really
Well, because
fast.
you were heading real close to misogynistic comment there, buddy.
What I'm saying is, like, it because people, like, know that biologically and scientifically women mature faster, that, okay, well, that means that they're ready to handle adult things. No, their body is changing sooner than the guys are changing.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Don't turn, like, the
Right.
only way that would make it fair is if you put them in a, like, if they actually have that mental space for that extra stuff, and then you're actually treating them like fully, like, the grades and everything else, and give them privileges sooner, like, but giving them the responsibility of being, well, you're more
Right.
mature, so you have more responsibility,
Right.
without the privilege is not fair.
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
But I would even say, like, just treat them like they're the same age as everybody else, their age, because guess what? They're that age.
Yeah. And, I mean, you look back on your life and you're like, man, I wish I could be a kid again and not have any bills. So, yes, your kid's going to fight you and get angry at you because you're not letting them go to the party or do whatever, but you're also preserving their childhood a little bit longer. And when they're older, they're going to look at you and be like, thank you so much for making me be a kid longer.
Right.
Because there's so many things as an adult that I can't do now because I don't have time. I gotta go pay bills.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, if I could go back, I'd be like, screw you guys. I'm gonna be a kid longer.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't fight for all the things.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
And, you know, just, I've watched families where they've got kids younger than the girl, and the girl's making dinner at 10 years old or younger. And that's not okay. Just because they are a girl does not mean that they need the female responsibilities of making the home. No, they're 10. Let them be a child. They need guidance too.
Well,
Yeah.
I started
It's-
making dinners at around that age, but that's 'cause
Yes,
I'm
but
in
you
town.
have 8 siblings.
No, I have
There's
7.
Okay, there is 8 of you.
Yes.
And so it's a little different.
Yes.
But I
if-
still think if you offer to go change a diaper, you offer to help, that's a little different than you need to go do
Yeah.
this.
But what
You
I'm
know?
saying is it's also equal. Like, it's not like
Right.
my
Your
sister.
brothers were helping out.
My
as well as your sister.
All the siblings were equal
Right.
as far as like what they were taught. Like it wasn't like my sister was taught how to make food, I was taught how to change oil. Like
Right.
me and my sister were both taught how to make dinner, and we were both taught how to change oil.
Right. Well,
Like-
I've seen, I mean, I don't know 100% everyone's life, but I have seen where the daughter is doing all of the house chores and the boys are outside playing.
Right.
And that's
No,
not fair.
I
want to go get muddy. I want to go play in the mud. Why do I got to do the dishes?
Right. Yeah.
He's a year older than me. He's a year younger than me. How come I have to do it and he gets to go play
Right.
outside?
No, I mean,
You know? I mean,
Yeah, or something like my mom always said, girls don't get sick days. So the boys could take time off or
that is
not do chores
super
if they were
toxic.
sick. But I had
Yeah.
to do chores if I was sick.
that's so toxic.
that's not...
I'm sorry.
That's not good at all.
I
Because
have
we
not
all...
heard that, and I am so sorry that you.
Yeah.
I've not heard that from you. I've heard that phrase before.
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
I did not know you were told that,
Yeah.
and that is
I mean,
horrid.
Yeah.
moms need sick days.
Yes, they do.
So-
Sure.
Everyone needs a sick day. If you're sick, you need to go to
Right.
bed.
Yeah.
Just like
Wow.
everyone needs vacation time, the equal vacation time, the
Yeah.
equal pay. Everybody needs equal. Just because we have different body parts does not mean we're different when it comes to what we need as a human.
right, right. Yeah. So
Humans all need the same thing. We're human.
So I was just thinking about like my mom didn't get sick hardly ever.
Okay, your mom's a freak. We love her dearly. She's a freak.
Well, I wonder if that's where I get my immune system from.
Well, I mean, yes, as long as I've known you, I don't know your family to get sick very often.
Nope.
I think your Ben is the only one that has.
My Ben.
Yeah, your Ben.
My brother Ben.
Yes, your brother Ben. And that's just because of the hours he works and
Yeah.
the fact that he's an extroverted extrovert.
Yep.
And he would
Also
rather...
works with children.
Also works with children.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah.
And so he would rather be out with people than to go take a nap
or sleep.
or sleep even, you know?
Yeah.
He'd rather
But-
go to work on 3 hours of sleep than not go to this shindig.
Yeah. But I mean, but the thing is, like I was thinking about, it, I was like, yeah, my mom didn't really get sick very much, but when she
Right.
did, like, she would take a load off.
Right.
She'd
Your
sit
dad,
down.
your mom still needed sick time,
Yeah.
even though
Yeah,
she
and,
wasn't
like-
sick all the time.
Right. And
You know?
it's just like, when you need it, you need it. And like, and that's something that, I mean, this is a general thing of just like, and I recently talked about this, of like, people need to be taking care of themselves more.
Mm-hmm.
And just in general, a lot of stuff has gotten very like, well, you just need to push through it.
Yeah.
Just in
Well,
general.
yeah.
I know a friend whose mom, if she just pushed through it, she wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
And so there are times where, like, you will either take a break, get yourself healthy again, or you die and you can't help your family ever again.
Right.
And so that's one thing that people don't think of, is
Yeah.
that if we don't give people an ample amount of rest and we don't give people days off and stuff like that, it can cause death of many forms.
I call that long-term side effects.
Well,
For the rest of your life.
yeah. I mean, whether it's physical or mental, those days off help you reset, help you
Yeah.
get better
Yeah.
physically and mentally, and then those causes of death that are physical and mental aren't happening as much
Yeah.
because people are taking care of themselves and people are getting the ability to take care of themselves.
And I will say, like, my job is very great with that. And, like, when I broke up with my ex, which is kind of sounds funny, it was really hard on me. Like, I absolutely hated breaking anybody's heart, even if... Anyway.
But it needed to happen.
Yes, but when that happened, I was on for, like, the rest of the weekend. And when I told my boss, like, hey, this just happened, I'm not okay, he said, I'll take over for you.
Uh-huh.
Figure, like, deal with what you need to deal with. When you're ready, let me know.
He's fantastic.
And it was one of the most, like, heard things that I've ever experienced is just like... Sorry, I was ready to, like... I'll answer the phone through my tears. I'll stumble through everything, get whatever's needed.
Sure.
Like, that's what I was expecting, and just, like, giving him a heads up he might get some complaints about the crying host. And instead he's like, I got it. Do what you need to do. Let me know when you're ready. Not like you have, like, 4 hours to figure that out. Like, just take a day, come back when you're ready.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's amazing. And that meant that I didn't have to deal with that and, like, bottle it up for a couple weeks or whatever until I had time to deal with it and then hope I can actually unpack it.
Right. And that's how you function better, whereas others, such as myself, when I have an issue in my family, I try to work through it because then I know that my mind isn't on something that I just can't handle. I can't do anything about the situation, so I'm just going to work because... What else am I going to do? Sit there and mope? And that's how I work. And I'm different from you. Yeah. And Kari's different from me. I would like to say that right now, we aren't working the same place, but we have really fantastic bosses that will help us through anything and will listen to us and give us the time off we need and wants us to be healthy and happy before we come to work. Because if we can't function... then we aren't functioning at our job. Right. And so we have good bosses right now they see the problem, they know the problem, and they help us through the problem.
Yeah, understanding and gracious.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
And I think that's something that's been missing in this culture a lot of or the previous generation was just like push through it.
Right. That understanding of life is difficult. We all got to get it together in order to get it alone.
Yeah. But just having some care and understanding and like understanding each person handles things differently is fantastic. And being able to like go to that and like...
Well, the phrase of it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to function.
That's true, yeah.
It takes a village to do anything.
Yeah.
Because without your family and friends, your village, you can't get through life. You can't do life alone. And so it's hard to find someone that is right there with you, but it takes a village to get through life. Yeah. And we've luckily, in our separate jobs, have found fantastic people that understand it. Yeah. You know, I know that your boss has worked with many generations. He worked at a college for a while, and I know that mine is worked many different jobs in a few different countries and understood many different cultures and how things work. And so we have people from vast backgrounds that have seen the best things to work and the things that don't work. Yeah. And so we are very blessed right now with our bosses, and they understand the female perspective as well as the male perspective. Right. And that's very difficult to find in anyone, let alone a boss. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and just...
Do you think they'll give us a raise now?
Ours can't afford it.
And Kari would know.
Yes, I would.
But like as females, like trying to help educate your higher ups, like getting them to a place of understanding, you know, I think is important. Like, and let me also preface that by saying, like, I'm not saying it's your job to do that. I think it's the boss's job to do that. Right. But giving them a helping hand, it goes a long way. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do this with as much knowledge as I have without, like, my wife and my friends and, you know, other females helping me understand.
Not being afraid to ask questions, being open to the comments, to the concerns, to the questions. Yeah. You've got to be able to work with the people because you're going to get people from all stretches of life. Right. Different areas, different colors, different everything.
Right.
You have to be able to ask that person, hey, I have this big question. I just don't want to offend you in any way. So here's my question to help us in the future.
Right.
And as a boss, if you're able to ask your subordinates that question, you're more of a friend to them, more of a leader than a boss.
Right.
And when you are a leader, you lead people into doing better.
Right.
When you're a boss, you drive people away and you are like military discipline. You need to do this or else you're going to get fired. We're going to have disciplinary actions. You need to get this work done. But if you're like, hey, you're not doing as much work today. Are you okay?
Right.
Feeling heard and
more of the servant leadership.
Right. Yeah. Feeling like you're a person makes you work better.
Yeah, and I mean that's something that our mine and Carrie's job recently did. Of we got a little piece of paper that asked us a couple questions of like, what's your favorite like snack? What's your favorite this? What's your favorite that? Just like so on a really bad day, they have information that they can be like, hey, Joel, I know you've had a really rough day. Here's a Twix. You know, it's not a ton. Like, it's not like a Twix, if you, like, just throw candy at someone, like, it's not something, but, like, knowing that they can do that, and if I get a Twix, it's something that means something to me.
Right. Knowing that they look at you as a person and not just a place.
Yeah, exactly.
You are not just a person that is working for me. You're a person that has other things besides this job.
Right.
You are a human being. You're not just a replaceable body.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, again, trying to help your superiors and just women helping guys in general, like being a little bit more
understanding, empathetic.
Yeah. And like, we're in trying to help guys learn, and guys trying to actually take steps to learn more. Especially if you're in charge of females in any capacity, like actually talking to them and talking to your female friends and relatives and like, hey, so here's what I was thinking, you know, would this be helpful? Would you guys appreciate that, you know, and learning what it takes to, you know, be a better human being.
Yeah. Right.
You know, females make up a large percent of our population. And it's...
We make all the population.
Fair. 100% fair.
That was on a different track. Aren't we a little over 50% now?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I stopped myself because I'm like, I don't know what the percentage is, and I don't want to like be super far off because I will feel really stupid if I do that.
Right. But we make all the percentage.
But of the people living, like... What was that?
I said, oh.
But like, it's a large percent. I can say that definitely. And it's, yeah, but like not understanding so much about that large of a percentage of the human population currently on this planet is absurd.
It's a problem.
Yeah. Like, it's just so absurd that it's such a big issue. And it's such a thing that's so misunderstood. What?
Agreeing with you.
Oh, okay.
Italian agreement.
Well, they can't hear your Italian agreement.
I know, that's why I did it silently.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Edit this part out too.
Or just leave it in and let them laugh.
Yep, I'm leaving it in and let them laugh. Yeah, but it's just, that's why I wanted to have this conversation and why it was worth putting off for a week to actually have it with two people that I know I can have this conversation openly with and like actually air out some of the things that like
grievances.
Yeah, like there's a lot of frustration that gets built up by just existing as a female that you don't get to just why? You know?
Stop yelling.
I can yell if I want to. It's my podcast. I can edit it later.
On that note, good night, everybody.
We've been recording for a while. So I will just stop with this. Is there anything else that either of you'd like to say about this topic in general. And who knows, we might have a part 2 of this later sometime. But anything else that you'd like to talk about right now? Anything that maybe we didn't touch on enough or really important?
Garrett, we were talking about you 90% of this. You edited
And
that
he brought
out.
it on himself.
You're editing this part
Yes,
out.
I am. Whew. Anything else that you'd like to mention right now?
Not that I can think of.
No. Okay.
No, just ask questions. Just try to understand, and people will like you a lot better.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, listen.
Listen, if someone says that was a little rude or misogynistic, listen, because it was sexist.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, ask and listen.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. Sweet and simple.
Good night, everybody.
Well, Kari, December, thank you so much for being on this episode. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And for all of you who are listening out there, a big thank you to Milana Dodd for the cover art for my podcast. She is an amazing graphic design artist. You can check her work out over at Milana. Gosh, you'd think I'd have this down by now, but I really don't. MilanaDesign.com, I believe. The link in the description will be correct. Milana, I'm sorry I messed it up so much. But go check out all her work. She does amazing, amazing stuff. Braden Slens, he is releasing more videos for his Zero Credits and Counting and plenty of other material out on his YouTube channel, so go check that out. That'll also be in the description below. If you have stories you want to share about just your experiences as a woman going through life and frustrations, I hope you feel okay sharing those with me. I would love to hear your stories and see what you've had to deal with going through life. You can send all those to me either on Twitter at Joel Circo, Instagram at CuriousJoelcast, or email me at CuriousJoelcast@gmail.com. Thank you all so much for listening, and I'll catch you all on the next episode.